Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Her Smile. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video.
My name is Sarah Martinez. I'm 32 years old. I'm an elementary school teacher. And my best friend stole $187,000 from me. Not all at once, gradually, legally, and I even thanked him for it. Before I tell you how he did it, hit that like button, because this story will make you furious. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, because what happened to me could happen to you tomorrow. March 2014. My husband Miguel and I had been saving for 5 years. Every bonus from work, every tax return, every birthday gift, into savings. $50,000 in the bank. 2 kids, Emma age 7 and Lucas age 5. Renting an apartment for $1,800 a month in Miami. Time to buy a house. I called Rick Daniels, my best friend for 10 years, best man at my wedding, godfather to my daughter, real estate agent. He promised to find us the perfect house. 3 days later, he did. $380,000. 3 bedrooms in a good school district, new roof, clean neighborhood, everything we wanted. We made an offer. The seller accepted. I cried from happiness. Our house. Finally. Rick set up a meeting with a mortgage broker the next day. His name was Brad. Professional, suited, portfolio of documents. Brad ran the numbers. Fixed rate mortgage at 5.2%. Monthly payment would be $1,812. With property taxes and insurance added, the total came to $2,300 per month. My stomach dropped. We couldn't afford $20,300, not with 2 kids, not on teacher and construction worker salaries. Miguel shook his head. We couldn't do it. That's when Rick leaned forward. He had another option. ARM, adjustable rate mortgage. I'd never heard of it. Brad explained. The interest rate would be adjustable instead of fixed. For the first 5 years, the rate would be only 2.5%. That meant monthly payments of just $1,320, almost half the fixed rate payment. It sounded perfect, too perfect. Miguel asked what happened after 5 years. Brad said the rate would adjust to market rates. Could be 4%, could be 6%, depended on the economy. I hesitated. That sounded risky, but Rick put his hand on my shoulder. Told me we'd refinance after 5 years, or our salaries would increase by then, or we'd sell the house for profit because Miami real estate always goes up. He reminded me he'd been my friend for 10 years, that he was Emma's godfather, asked if I really thought he'd put us in a bad loan. I looked at Miguel. He looked uncertain, but nodded. We agreed to the ARM. Brad placed 47 pages of documents in front of us. Disclosure forms, rate adjustment clauses, legal terminology I didn't understand. I tried to read through them. Small print, complex language, words like index and margin and adjustment period. Brad talked fast. Explained things quickly, pointed to signature lines. Rick kept saying it was all standard. Just sign and we'd have our house. I signed page 12. Miguel initialed page 23. We both signed page 47. Done. 30 days later, we moved into our dream house. April 2014. Rick brought champagne to celebrate. We drank on our new porch while Emma and Lucas ran through the backyard. The happiest day of my life. I hugged Rick and thanked him. Told him we couldn't have done it without him. He smiled and said, "That's what friends are for." The first 3 years were perfect. Monthly payments of $1,420. Manageable. Christmas in our own home for the first time. Emma's 8th birthday party in the backyard. Weekend barbecues with our new neighbors. Every month I thanked God for this house, for Rick, for making our dream possible. Then August 2017 happened. Miguel fell from scaffolding at a construction site. 10 feet, landed wrong, broke his wrist, dislocated his shoulder, 2 surgeries required, 6 weeks completely out of work, then 4 more months on light duty at half pay. Bills piled up, groceries, gas, kids' school supplies, medical copays. We started using credit cards, just temporarily, just until Miguel recovered. $2,000 in debt, then $5,000, then $8,000. By December 2017, we owed $18,000 on credit cards. Miguel eventually returned to full-time work, but the damage was done. We were making minimum payments on the cards, high interest rates. The balance never went down. Our credit score started dropping. 720 became 600, then 640, then 620. I wasn't too worried. We had a plan. In 2019, after 5 years in the house, we'd refinance the mortgage, pull out some equity, pay off the credit cards, start fresh. February 2019. A letter arrived from the bank. I opened it at the kitchen table. Alone, Miguel was at work, kids at school. Notice of rate adjustment. My introductory rate period had ended. New interest rate 6.8%. New monthly payment $2,947.82 effective April 1st. I read it 3 times, couldn't believe it. $2,947? We've been paying $1,420. That was an increase of $1,127 every single month. My hands started shaking. We couldn't pay $2,947 a month. Impossible. That was almost our entire monthly income after taxes. I immediately called Rick, explained the letter, the massive payment increase, told him we couldn't afford it. His response was casual, almost dismissive, said that's what happens with ARMs. The rate adjusts. The market went up, so rates increased. I asked what we should do. He told me to call the bank and refinance. Then he hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, confused. That was it? That was his advice? I called the bank, waded through the automated system, finally reached a person, asked about refinancing. The representative asked for my credit score. I told her around 620. She said sorry. Minimum credit score for refinancing was 640. I didn't qualify. She also mentioned debt-to-income ratio, asked if I had other debts, the $18,000 on credit cards. She said my debt-to-income ratio was too high. I didn't qualify to refinance. There was nothing they could do. The call ended. I sat in my kitchen, alone, in complete silence. We were trapped. Couldn't afford the new payment. Couldn't refinance because our credit dropped. Couldn't sell the house fast enough to avoid foreclosure. Completely stuck. That evening, I told Miguel. He didn't yell or cry. He just sat there, stared at the wall, said quietly that we were going to lose the house. Emma walked in and asked why I was crying. I lied and said I was just tired. She hugged me and told me she loved our house. I couldn't respond. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lay awake Googling ARM mortgage horror stories. Page after page of families losing their homes, foreclosures, bankruptcies, all from adjustable rate mortgages they didn't understand. Then I found an article about how mortgage brokers make money. The article explained that brokers earn higher commissions on ARM loans compared to fixed-rate loans, typically double the commission. My heart stopped. I immediately opened my laptop, called the title company the next morning, asked them to send copies of all our closing documents. They emailed a 247-page PDF file. I scrolled through page after page, loan details, disclosure forms, terms and conditions, page 47. I stopped. Broker compensation disclosure. Loan amount $330,000. Broker commission $22,440. $22,440. Rick had made $22,440 when we closed on our house. I did quick research. Fixed-rate mortgages typically pay brokers around 2% commission. That would have been about $11,000. ARM mortgages pay around 4%. That's $22,000. Rick had doubled his commission by putting us in an ARM instead of a fixed rate. He absolutely knew that in 5 years our payment would explode. He knew we probably couldn't refinance. He knew we'd be trapped. And he did it anyway, for an extra $11,000. I stared at that number, $22,440. That's what our 10-year friendship was worth to him. I couldn't sleep the rest of the night. At 7 a.m., I got in my car, drove straight to Rick's office. Didn't call, didn't text, just showed up. His assistant looked surprised to see me, asked if I had an appointment. I walked past her, opened Rick's office door. He was sitting with a young couple, mid-20s, first-time buyers, documents spread across his desk. I could see the heading from across the room, adjustable rate mortgage application. He was doing it again, to another family. Rick stood up when he saw me, put on a fake smile, started to say he was in a meeting. I cut him off, told him he made $22,440 off our loan. His smile disappeared immediately. The young couple looked at each other, confused. Rick told me I needed to leave. His voice was cold, completely different from the friend I'd known. I ignored him, told the couple he'd put us in an arm to double his commission, that our payment just jumped from $1,420 to $2,947, that we were about to lose our house. The girl looked at her boyfriend, then at the papers on the desk, asked Rick if they were signing up for an arm. Rick tried to explain, but I interrupted, told them to run, that he was selling them a financial bomb, that in 5 years their payment would double just like ours did. The boyfriend grabbed their documents, stood up, said they needed time to think. They left. Rick's face turned red, told me I'd just cost him $18,000 in commission. I said good, asked how it felt. He yelled at me to get out, said I'd signed all the documents, that everything was properly disclosed. I asked about the disclosure. 47 pages of fine print that he'd rushed us through. Legal language we didn't understand. That was proper disclosure? Rick sat down, opened his laptop, told me coldly that if I didn't leave, he'd call security. I asked him one more question before leaving. How many other families had he done this to? He didn't answer. I left his office, sat in my car for 20 minutes, just breathing. Then I opened Facebook on my phone, searched for ARM mortgage victims in Miami, found a group, ARM Disaster Support Group, South Florida. 1,247 members. I joined and started scrolling. Post from 3 days earlier. Someone asking if anyone else had been convinced by Rick Daniels to take an ARM. They were now in foreclosure. 32 comments. All saying yes. Same realtor. Same story. I kept scrolling. Post after post mentioning Rick's name. 50 different families. All put into ARM loans. All now struggling to pay. Many in foreclosure. Some already bankrupt. He'd been doing this for years. Systematically. Intentionally. I posted in the group, introduced myself, explained that Rick had been my best friend, that he'd made $22,440 commission off our loan, asked if anyone wanted to take legal action. Within 5 minutes, I had 12 responses. Within an hour, 47 responses. By that evening, 89 people had commented. Everyone wanted justice. I spent that entire night reading through stories in the Facebook group, each one more heartbreaking than the last. A retired couple in their 70s, fixed income. Rick had convinced them to take an ARM to buy their retirement home. Now facing foreclosure, couldn't afford to move, didn't know where they'd go. A single father with 3 kids, lost his wife to cancer 2 years after buying the house. Couldn't keep up with the doubled payment alone. Working overnight shifts at a warehouse just to try to make rent after losing the house. A young veteran came home from deployment. Rick told him about a special program for veterans, put him in an ARM instead. Now the veteran was living in his car, too proud to ask for help, too broke to afford anything else. Story after story, pattern after pattern. All the same, Rick targeting vulnerable people, first-time buyers, people with limited financial knowledge, immigrants with language barriers, young families desperate for a home. He'd refined it to a science, knew exactly who to target, exactly what to say, exactly how to rush them through the paperwork. The next day, 7 families met at the public library. Maria and Carlos arrived first, mid-40s, had been in foreclosure for 2 years, fighting the bank every step of the way. Their teenage daughter had started having panic attacks from the stress. James came next, early 30s, had declared bankruptcy 6 months earlier, moved back in with his parents. His engagement had fallen apart because of the financial stress. Fiancé left him, said she couldn't marry someone so financially irresponsible. Lynn and David, older couple, had sold their house at a massive loss to avoid foreclosure, moved into a small apartment, retirement savings completely gone, had to go back to work in their 60s. Katie, single mom, 28 years old, working 3 jobs, gas station cashier during the day, waitress at night, weekend cleaning houses, barely seeing her 2 kids, just to make the $2,900 payment each month, losing weight from stress, developing anxiety. Robert and Susan had drained their entire retirement savings, $180,000 a day, used it all to keep making payments, now in their 50s with 0 retirement funds, would have to work until they died. We sat in a circle, shared our stories, cried together, got angry together. Maria said we needed to sue him, make him pay. James said we needed a lawyer who'd take the case. That morning I'd received an email from an attorney named Daniel Porter. He specialized in predatory lending cases, said he'd heard about our situation through the Facebook group, wanted to help, would work on contingency, meaning he only got paid if we won. We called him right there on speakerphone from the library. Daniel's voice was confident, professional, angry on our behalf. He asked how many families we had. I told him 7 in person, but over 50 in the Facebook group willing to join. He said that was perfect. The more plaintiffs, the stronger the case. More evidence, more damages. Harder for Rick to claim it was just isolated incidents. He'd take the case. Within 1 week, 23 families had officially joined the lawsuit. Daniel's paralegal collected declarations from each family, documented the pattern, commission amounts, similar sales tactics, nearly identical experiences. Within 2 weeks, 51 families. By the end of the month, 87 families total, all against Rick Daniels. Total claim damages, $28 million. The number kept growing. Daniel had to cut it off at 87 just to keep the case manageable. If you're still watching, hit that subscribe button, because this legal battle is about to get intense. Drop a comment if you think we're going to win. Let me know what you'd do in this situation. April 2019. We officially filed the class action lawsuit. Rick Daniels and Associated Realty, LLC, 87 plaintiffs. Charges included predatory lending practices, breach of fiduciary duty, fraud, and misrepresentation. The legal complaint was 89 pages long, detailed every family's story, showed the pattern, documented Rick's commission structure, proved he systematically targeted vulnerable buyers. The local news picked up the story immediately. Headline: Local teacher leads class. Action against real estate agent. My phone exploded with calls. Reporters wanting interviews. More victims coming forward with their stories. People sharing similar experiences with other agents. Channel 7 News sent a crew to my house. I gave an interview on our front porch. The same porch where Rick had brought champagne 5 years earlier to celebrate our purchase. The irony wasn't lost on me. The story aired at 6 p.m., then again at 11 p.m., then got picked up by the morning show. Rick's attorney sent us a cease and desist letter the next day. 5 pages of legal threats. Claimed we were defaming his client. Threatened to countersue for damages. Demanded we stop talking to the media. Daniel laughed when I showed him. Said it was textbook intimidation. An empty threat. Everything we'd stated was documented fact. Public record. Told them to try suing us. It would only make their case worse. Meanwhile, we received our foreclosure notice. Certified mail, official legal document. 90 days to pay the full amount owed or the house would go to auction. Miguel and I sat at the kitchen table every night for a week. Calculator, bills, bank statements, running numbers over and over. We made a detailed budget, cut everything possible, canceled streaming services, stopped eating out completely, bought generic brands at the grocery store, turned off the AC to save electricity, still couldn't make the numbers work. $2,147 was simply too much. Even with both of us working, even with cutting every expense, we were $800 short every month. We looked into getting second jobs, but childcare would cost more than we'd earn. We were trapped in a mathematical prison. Emma started asking questions, noticed we weren't going to her favorite restaurant anymore, asked why we always said no to things her friends got to do. Were we poor? Were we moving? Why did Mommy cry all the time? I kept lying, telling her everything was fine. We were just being careful with money. She was 7 years old. She knew I was lying. Kids always know. Lucas was too young to understand, but he sensed the tension, started having trouble sleeping, nightmares, calling for us in the middle of the night. The stress was destroying our family. Local news came back for a follow-up story. Reporter named Jessica Chen with a camera crew. This time they didn't just interview me, they interviewed Maria and Carlos, showed their teenage daughter talking about her anxiety, how she couldn't sleep, how she was failing classes because she was so worried about losing their house. They interviewed James, showed him living in his childhood bedroom at age 32, his mother crying on camera about watching her son's life fall apart. They interviewed Katie, filmed her working the night shift at a diner, showed her getting 3 hours of sleep before her morning shift at the gas station, her kids barely seeing her. The segment was devastating, and it aired during prime time. The story went viral, shared on Facebook thousands of times, Twitter, Reddit. Local story became national news, 50,000 views online within hours, then 100,000. By the next morning, over 500,000 people had watched it. Comments flooded in, people saying this had happened to them too, calling Rick a predator, a criminal, demanding justice. Rick's office phone started ringing constantly, angry calls, threats, people screaming at his receptionist. His Google reviews tanked overnight. Previously had 4.5 stars from 200 reviews. Within 24 hours had 1.2 stars from over 1,000 reviews. Every new review was 1 star. Comments calling him a scam artist, a thief, a predator, saying he destroyed families, ruined lives, belonged in prison. His business was collapsing in real time. His wife Jessica called me 3 days after the news story aired. Her voice was shaking, crying, could barely get words out. She taught at a school 2 districts over. We'd been friendly, had grabbed coffee a few times. Our daughters were the same age. She told me she was divorcing Rick, that she hadn't known what he'd been doing to clients, not the full extent. He'd told her it was just standard commission structure. Everyone did it. But after the lawsuit got filed, she started digging, found things, affairs with clients, gambling debts he'd hidden, secret credit cards, a second mortgage on their house she didn't know about. Everything was a lie. Their entire marriage built on deception. She'd packed her bags, taken their daughter, moved in with her parents, filing for divorce the next week. She apologized through tears, said she was so sorry for what he'd done to us, to everyone, then hung up. I sat there holding the phone, feeling nothing, not satisfaction, not vindication, not even sympathy for Jessica, just exhaustion, emotional numbness. May 2019. The legal discovery phase began. Daniel filed subpoenas for all of Rick's business records, emails, text messages, commission statements, client files, bank records, phone records, everything. Rick's attorneys tried to block it, filed motions to limit discovery, claimed attorney-client privilege, proprietary business information. The judge denied every motion, ordered full disclosure. Rick had to turn over everything. 2 weeks later, Daniel called me. His voice was different, excited, angry, triumphant. They'd found the smoking gun, multiple smoking guns. Email from Rick to his mortgage broker, Brad, in March 2014, 2 weeks before our closing. Quote, "Got another one into an arm. Martinez family. $22K commission. These idiots don't even read the paperwork. Just keep pushing them through. Easy money." Text message to another real estate agent named Mike in June 2016. Quote, "Arms are where the real money is. Fixed rate is for suckers who don't understand the game. Put everyone in ARM if you can. Cash out before it explodes in 5 years. Let the bank deal with the foreclosures." Internal company memo from January 2018 sent to all his agents. Quote, "New year, new targets. Focus on first-time buyers, young families, recent immigrants, people with limited financial literacy. They don't know any better. Easy arm sales. Remember, our job is commission, not financial counseling." Email to his business partner in August 2018. Quote, "Hit $3 million in ARM commissions this year. New record. These people are so desperate to buy houses, they'll sign anything. Love this business. Daniel found dozens of emails, hundreds of text messages, all showing the same pattern. Rick knew exactly what he was doing. It wasn't ignorance. It wasn't poor judgment. It was systematic, intentional exploitation. The case was no longer he said, she said. It was his own words proving intentional predatory lending. June 2019. We went to mediation. Large conference room, long table. Rick on one side with 3 attorneys. Our group on the other side with Daniel. Rick wouldn't look at me. Kept his eyes down the entire time. His lead attorney started by denying all wrongdoing. Claimed everything had been properly disclosed according to legal requirements. Daniel opened his folder, slid copies of Rick's emails and texts across the table, told them to read those and then talk about legal requirements. Rick's attorney read through them. His face went pale. Tried to claim they were taken out of context. Daniel pulled out more evidence, showed that Rick had made $3.2 million in arm commissions over 5 years, while his clients lost their homes. Explained how that would look to a jury. Rick's legal team huddled together, whispered arguments. Rick looked angry, defeated, broken. 15 minutes of discussion. Finally, they asked what we wanted. Daniel laid out the terms. $2.3 million settlement distributed among the 87 families. Rick surrenders his real estate license permanently. Personal fine of $250,000. Rick's attorney called it absurd. Tried to negotiate lower. Daniel said no. These were the terms. Take it or we go to trial with full media coverage and those emails as evidence. More huddled discussion. Finally, they agreed. Settlement accepted. I exhaled. Hadn't realized I'd been holding my breath the entire time. It was over. July 2019. The settlement was finalized. $2.3 million divided among 87 families. I received $46,000. Not enough to cover everything we'd lost, but enough to catch up on our mortgage payments. Enough to keep the house. Rick Daniels surrendered his real estate license, permanently banned from the industry in Florida, paid his $250,000 personal fine. His real estate office closed down. His wife divorced him. His reputation destroyed. Local news covered the settlement. Headline: Real estate agent loses license after predatory lending scandal. I watched the news segment with Miguel and the kids. Emma asked if everything was okay now. I told her yes. Everything was okay. August 2019. We used the settlement money to catch up on our mortgage, paid off 3 months of missed payments, brought our account current. Then we applied to refinance. Different broker this time. Legitimate, transparent. Our credit score had improved slightly. Back up to 655. Not great, but enough. We got approved for a fixed-rate mortgage, 4.8%. Monthly payment of $1,650, higher than our original ARM payment, but manageable, and most importantly, stable. Fixed. No surprises, no traps. We refinanced in September. Our new mortgage started October 1st, $1,650 every month. Forever. No adjustments, no rate changes, just steady, predictable payments. I cried when we signed the papers, but this time from relief. September 2019. I received a phone call from State Representative Helen Rodriguez. She'd read about our case, wanted to propose new legislation requiring clearer disclosure of ARM risks, mandatory counseling for first-time home buyers. She asked if I'd be willing to testify before the state legislature. I said yes immediately. October 2019. I stood before the Florida House Financial Services Committee, told them my entire story, explained that I was a teacher making $58,000 a year, that I'd trusted my best friend, that he'd sold me into what felt like financial slavery for an $11,000 commission bonus. I held up the 47-page document I'd signed at closing, pointed out that the rate adjustment clause was buried on page 23, paragraph 8, subsection C, written in legal language that required a law degree to understand. Asked them how any regular person was supposed to understand that. I explained that ARMs aren't inherently bad financial products, but they're sold deceptively. Information buried in paperwork, rushed through closing. First-time buyers don't understand what they're signing. I propose mandatory simple disclosure. One-page summary in plain English. Mandatory counseling session for anyone considering an ARM, so they truly understand what happens in 5 years. The committee listened, asked questions, discussed the proposal, they voted, passed unanimously. The bill moved through the legislature over the next several months, debated, amended, improved. In March 2020, the governor signed it into law. They called it Sarah's Law. Required all mortgage brokers to provide a one-page simple disclosure of ARM risks. Mandatory counseling session for first-time buyers considering ARMs. Penalties for brokers who failed to comply. I was there when the governor signed it, stood right next to him, watched him put pen to paper, a law named after me. That would protect others from what happened to my family. November 2019. I was shopping at Target. Turned down the grocery aisle, saw Rick at the other end. He was alone, pushing a cart, looked tired, older, worn down. We made eye contact for just a second. He immediately looked away, turned his cart around, left the aisle. I stood there for a moment, watching him leave, felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no sense of victory, just emptiness. He'd lost everything: career, marriage, reputation, money. I'd almost lost everything too, but I'd survived. He hadn't. December 2019. Messages started arriving on Facebook. A woman named Lisa wrote that her real estate agent had been pushing her to take an ARM. Agent said it was the only way she could afford the house she wanted. Never mentioned what would happen in 5 years. Lisa had been ready to sign. Then she saw my story on the news. Said no to the ARM. Found a different realtor who put her in a fixed rate. She thanked me for sharing publicly. Said I'd probably saved her from losing everything. A man named David wrote that my case inspired him to pull out his own mortgage documents. He'd bought 3 years earlier, had an ARM just like mine. After seeing my story, he did the math, realized his payment would jump from $2,600 to $3,200 in 2 years. He immediately refinanced, switched to fixed rate before his adjustment hit, said my lawsuit had saved his house. Dozens of messages like this, people whose lives I'd affected without knowing them. Families who avoided the trap because they'd heard the warning. January 2020. A nonprofit housing counseling organization asked if I'd volunteer. They offered free counseling to first-time home buyers, helped them understand mortgages, reviewed documents, explained options. I said yes immediately. Started volunteering 1 evening a week, then 2 evenings, then every Saturday morning. I'd sit with couples and families, review mortgage options page by page, break down the difference between ARM and fixed rate in simple language, show them real calculations, what their payment would be now, what it could become if rates increased. I'd share my own documents, show them exactly what happened to me, the 47 pages I'd signed, the $22,440 commission Rick had earned. Most people chose fixed rate after talking to me. Some still went with ARMs, but at least they understood the risks, made informed decisions with full knowledge. One couple stands out, Marcus and Keisha, both 29, first child on the way. Desperate to buy before the baby arrived, their agent had them set up with an ARM, payment of $2,300. Could barely afford it. I showed them what would happen in 5 years. Their $2,300 payment could jump to $2,400, maybe $2,600. With a baby, daycare costs. They couldn't afford $2,600. They'd lose the house. I suggested they walk away, keep renting 1 more year, save aggressively, then buy something smaller with a fixed rate they could truly afford. They took my advice. A year later, they sent me a photo of their keys. Smaller house, older neighborhood, but fully fixed rate at $1,400 a month. Thanked me for the hard conversation that saved them. Those moments make the volunteering worth it. February 2020. I spoke at a financial literacy conference, told my entire story, showed the documents, explained how the scam worked. At the end, a woman in the back raised her hand. She worked at a bank as a loan officer, said she'd been instructed by management to push ARMs, higher commissions, better numbers for her reviews. After hearing my story, she realized she'd been complicit in harming people. She was quitting. Couldn't be part of that system anymore. I realized then that the problem was bigger than just Rick. It was systemic, built into the industry. My case had changed laws in Florida, but the problem existed nationwide. March 2020, COVID-19 pandemic hit. Everything shut down, courts closed, my school went virtual, Miguel's construction sites temporarily closed, the mortgage counseling center moved to Zoom calls. Turns out the pandemic made our services more needed than ever. People losing jobs, income dropping, needed help understanding forbearance options, refinancing, loan modifications. We went from 10 families a week to 50. April 2020, 1 year after filing the lawsuit. Daniel called. Our settlement was finalized. Money would be distributed within 60 days. But he had other news. 3 more real estate agents in Florida were now facing similar lawsuits. People had seen our case, realized they'd been victims too. The ripple effect was spreading. Attorneys in other states were calling. Texas, California, Arizona, all seeing similar patterns, all filing similar cases. Our lawsuit had started a movement. May 2020. I received the settlement check, $46,000. Used it to catch up on our mortgage, paid off $12,000 in credit card debt, put the rest in savings. For the first time in over a year, we were financially stable, could pay our bills, had an emergency fund, weren't drowning anymore. June 2020. Rick reached out through a mutual friend, wanted to apologize, wanted to meet. I said no. The friend pushed, said Rick was in therapy, working on himself, genuinely sorry, had lost everything. Just wanted a chance to apologize face to face. I said no again, more firmly. Rick didn't deserve my forgiveness, didn't deserve closure, didn't deserve to feel better. He destroyed 87 families financially, intentionally, for profit, for years. I had nothing to say to him, never heard from Rick again. Present day, February 2024. We're still in our house, still making $1,650 payments. Emma is 12, Lucas is 10, both thriving. Miguel and I are still together. The financial crisis tested our marriage but didn't break it. I still teach, still volunteer at the counseling center, now training other volunteers. Sarah's law is still in effect in Florida, has been adopted in 3 other states, more considering it. Last month, I spoke at a congressional hearing, federal legislation being proposed, national disclosure requirements for mortgages, consumer protections. They flew me to Washington, D.C., asked me to tell my story. I did. Showed them the documents, explained how the system fails consumers, advocated for change. Don't know if it'll pass, but I'll keep fighting. Because nobody should go through what I went through. That's my mission now. Education, advocacy, protection, one family at a time, one law at a time, one story at a time. So let me leave you with this. If you're buying a house, read every single page of every document before you sign. Don't skip anything. Don't let anyone rush you through it. Ask questions. Demand answers in plain English, not legal jargon. If someone can't explain it simply, they don't understand it themselves or they're hiding something. Don't trust anyone blindly. Not your friend, not your family member, not your real estate agent, not your mortgage broker. Everyone has incentives that might not align with yours. Trust the documents. Understand exactly what you're signing. Know what happens in 5 years, 10 years, 30 years. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Low introductory rates, tiny initial payments, promises that you can refinance later, all red flags. ARMs aren't inherently evil. They work for some people in specific situations. But make sure you understand the maximum possible payment. Make sure you can afford it if rates go up. Make sure you have a real exit strategy. Don't rely on refinancing. You might not qualify when the time comes. Don't rely on selling. The market might crash. Don't rely on income increases. You might lose your job. Plan for the worst case scenario. If you can't afford the maximum payment, don't take the loan. Because once you sign, you're locked in, trapped, at the mercy of interest rates and markets and circumstances beyond your control. My name is Sarah Martinez. I almost lost everything because I trusted the wrong person and didn't read what I signed. But I fought back, got justice, changed laws, started a movement, and now I help others avoid my mistake. If this story taught you something valuable, drop a like right now. Comment the word protected if you learned something that might save you money. Hit that subscribe button if you believe people deserve to understand what they're signing before it ruins their lives. And please, share this video with anyone you know who's buying a house or considering a mortgage. Forward it to your family members, your friends, your coworkers, anyone who might benefit from this warning. You might save someone's financial life, their home, their family. Thank you for watching my story, for letting me warn you, for helping spread awareness. Now go read your documents, ask hard questions, protect yourself and your family, because nobody else will do it for you. The system isn't designed to protect you, it's designed to profit from you. Be smart, be careful, be informed. See you in the next story. So let me leave you with this. If you're buying a house, read every single page of every document. Don't skip anything. Don't let anyone rush you. Ask questions. Demand answers in plain English, not legal jargon. Don't trust anyone blindly. Not your friend, not your family member, not your real estate agent, not your mortgage broker. Trust the documents. Understand what you're signing. Know exactly what happens in 5 years, 10 years, 30 years. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Arms aren't always bad. They work for some people in specific situations, but they're often sold deceptively to people who don't understand the risks. Know what you're getting into. Know your escape plan if rates increase. Know whether you can afford the maximum possible payment. Because once you sign, you're locked in, trapped. My name is Sarah Martinez. I almost lost everything because I trusted the wrong person and didn't read what I signed. But I fought back, got justice, changed the law, and now I help others avoid my mistake. If this story taught you something, drop a like right now. Comment the word protected if you learned something valuable today. Hit that subscribe button if you believe people deserve to understand what they're signing. And please share this with anyone you know who's buying a house. You might save their financial life. Thank you for watching my story. Now go read your documents, ask questions, protect yourself, because nobody else will do it for you. See you in the next story.